While the New York Jets' search for a head coach and general manager might be over, the search for coordinators continues. NFL Insider reveals one offensive coordinator candidate is someone who is, quote, firmly on the Jets' radar. A lot to get into. We'll break it down and much more, all coming up here on a Tuesday evening edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
J-E-T-S, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk here on this Tuesday evening, January 28th, 2025. The month's coming to an end. Darren Boogie, Aaron Glenn introduced yesterday. We broke down the press conference. We spoke about all that yesterday. If you missed it, go check that out. Great episode. We were joined by Jets content creating legend, Boy Green. So like I said, check that out. If you haven't already, appreciate you tuning in here with us on this Tuesday. Smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Your support means a ton. With the month nearing its end, last chance, Friday we're doing the raffle. So this is one of your last shows. If you want to get in on our membership raffle, Garrett Wilson signed mini helmet, Wayne Corbett signed football, free item from the merch store, and a channel emoji among the prizes we're giving away. So if you haven't gotten in on that already, be sure to get in on that. You want more tickets? The more tickets you have, the better chance you have to win. So be sure to add to those. I appreciate you all tuning in on this show. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. We'll get you up on the screen. Super chats will cut the line, but you want your question read. You want to sound off on the latest news in Jetland. Throw your questions in the chat. We'll be sure to get to all of those. Before we get into the main news of today, let's say what's up to everyone in the chat. I got King Jamie the Mad in here, our residential Chiefs fan in the chat. Good to see you, King Jamie. Speaking of opposing team fans, especially in the AFC West, our Broncos fan DB94 is in the chat, and listen to him, who has, I think, 25 memberships it is on the month. Listen to DB, smash the like, completely free, helps us grow significantly, so please do that. On your way into the building, our guy Caden is in the chat. Caden, appreciate your support on the show. Our guy Fastest Food Reviews, aka Chef Kevin, is in the building. Chef, appreciate you tuning in. And of course, our guy Wild Wave is in the chat. Wild Wave, good to see you. I appreciate you all tuning in. Share the show, completely free. We're really trying to grow the platform. Smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Keep the questions, comments flowing. We'll be sure to get to all of those throughout the show. But I guess where I'm going to start today is kind of the bigger news surrounding the offensive coordinator vacancy for the New York Jets. I'll pull up a tweet here from NFL Insider Aaron Wilson, who revealed a candidate who is connected to Aaron Glenn directly over the past few seasons, who is, quote, firmly on the Jets' radar as the Jets look to fill their vacant offensive coordinator position. That is, dun dun dun, current Detroit Lions passing game coordinator Tanner Engstrand. Now, guys, Engstrand's a name I've been talking about for a really, really long time when it comes to filling this offensive coordinator role. Personally, I am surprised his name it took this long for his name to be brought up as a potential offensive coordinator candidate. And I think most of it is going to come from just because it was a lot of people assumed he was going to get the offensive coordinator job in Detroit, once Ben Johnson took the head coaching job with the Bears, or who was going to follow Ben Johnson to Chicago. However, that's not the case. They ended up hiring John Morton, former Jets offensive coordinator, who was a name of interest for this under Aaron Glenn as a potential OC candidate. He's off the table, but now this opens up the door for Tanner Engstrand. Now, Engstrand, I'd say, is one of the most intriguing names for this offensive coordinator role. I have a ton of other names I want to get into that I think should be viewed as serious offensive coordinator candidates. But I'll start with Engstrand because he's the topic of today's show. I just pulled it up. It's still on the screen, this tweet from Aaron Wilson. So Engstrand just wrapped up his fifth season with the Detroit Lions. He's climbed his way up the ranks on their offensive coaching staff. He started as an offensive assistant in 2020. Then he became their offensive quality control coach in 2021, and the passing game coordinator, where he spent the past 3 seasons from 2022 all the way through this past season, obviously the 2024 year. Before his time in Detroit, he was an offensive coordinator. He was actually a play caller, but here's the fascinating part, so to speak, of Engstrand's resume. It wasn't in the NFL. He was a play calling offensive coordinator for the XFL's DC Defenders for a season, which is interesting. So his background as a coach kind of expands out of the NFL, which I think is pretty cool as we look at those candidates. So that's an interesting little story there on Engstrand. Look, from what we've seen, it seems like he was pretty much the second guy behind Ben Johnson who was contributing to the Lions' offensive success. So Engstrand has been a part of an elite coaching staff, has the connection to Aaron Glenn, is an up and coming offensive innovative mind. I think he should be viewed as an elite candidate for this Jets job. There are a lot of people who want potential experience when it comes to the offensive coordinator position, just because hey, it's a first-time defensive-minded head coach. I want an offensive coordinator who's done it here before. Nick Caley's a name who'd be a first-timer. He's in his 30s, a name that has been floated around for the job. But Engstrand's really interesting. I think he's 42 years old, is what I have him at. So he's still on the younger side, connected to Glenn, like I mentioned. Tanner Engstrand for Jets OC, I wouldn't mind it at all. I think if they're going to pluck from that Detroit coaching staff to bring in their next OC, Tanner Engstrand would be the Jets' best option. I would prefer him over Mark Burnell. I know Burnell's been a name that has been kind of tossed around recently as an OC candidate. Obviously, has the connection to the Jets. Played for them for a few seasons. Was a backup quarterback with them for a little while. I would take Tanner Engstrand over Mark Burnell. Engstrand has more experience. I think he plays a more significant role on that coaching staff over in Detroit. So, like I said, they're going to pluck from Detroit's coaching staff. I think Tanner Engstrand's the answer. But I'm gonna give you guys some other names to look at as the Jets kind of look at these offensive coordinators here. Let's see, who are some other names I have on my list. Brian Johnson is an interesting one. No direct connection to Glenn, but I kind of went out of the box here and picked guys who aren't directly connected to Aaron Glenn because you guys heard what he said at the introductory press conference. Doesn't matter if they're connected with him. He's looking for the best coach, and I think Brian Johnson is the most accomplished guy when it comes to narrowing this list down as an offensive coordinator for the offensive coordinator job. I think he's the most accomplished. He's had the most success. He's been a play caller with an elite team before, so. I mean, he's just in his first season with the Washington Commanders. Look what Jaden Daniels did. Incredible season. He was their assistant head coach, pass game coordinator, working alongside Cliff Kingsbury, kind of helping facilitate that monster of a rookie season for Jaden Daniels and a great comeback season, so to speak, after I think they won 4 games last season now. Return to the AFC Championship game, which was absolutely crazy. Before his time, though, in Washington this season. He spent 3 seasons with the Eagles. He served in a few roles. He was an offensive coordinator there. He was their quarterbacks coach for a little while. One of the main things that I really like is the pattern of him being able to develop quarterbacks, helping facilitate this monster rookie season, like I said, for Jaden Daniels, and then significantly boosting Jalen Hurts' numbers last season, significantly boosting Jalen Hurts' numbers over the past few seasons. So Hurts has said great things of Brian Johnson. He's worked with a ton of different quarterbacks before. The Eagles ranked 10th in offensive DVOA under Johnson's play calling in 2023. Great track record. That's why I think he's appealing to me. Like, look, the Jets are gonna, whether it's this year, I don't think they're gonna try to go after a franchise guy this year. I think they'll draft someone in the 4th or 5th round, but I think next year is the year they're gonna try to draft a quarterback and make him the franchise guy. So let's say the Jets are trying to groom their offense into becoming a top tier unit while still trying to develop a franchise guy. I think Brian Johnson provides that. So as of now, I said Tanner Engstrand would be my number 1 option if they want to pluck from Detroit's coaching staff. But overall, big picture, all these offensive coordinator candidates, everyone lined up. Brian Johnson, I want you to be my offensive coordinator. So he's probably my number 1 guy overall when it comes to filling this role. Someone who's right behind him, who I have as number 2 on my list, who's from the Washington Commanders coaching staff as well, who has a prior history with the Jets, was under Rex Ryan for a little while, followed Rex Ryan over to Buffalo. Someone who has head coaching experience. I guess you can kind of pick up what I'm putting down there. That's Anthony Lynn, the running backs coach for the Washington Commanders right now. He has head coach experience. He's with the Chargers for a few years. Worked with, obviously former running back, first off. Worked with Justin Herbert for a little while. 4 seasons there from 2017 to 2020. Over 500 record. He was 33-32. He 12-4 season in 2018. He went 1-1 in the playoffs. He's really, really interesting because he has the tie to the Jets organization. He's worked in a ton of different systems around the league, which I think is really important, ranging from like a quality control coach and assistant running backs coach, all the way up to a head coach. So I really like that. He's been around really, really solid quarterbacks. He's worked with incredible running backs. Most importantly, has a ton of experience. I don't think Aaron Glenn and Anthony Lynn overlapped anywhere. But again, kind of go back to the original point that Aaron Glenn made yesterday at his introductory press conference. He's looking for the best coach overall. That's what he's looking for. So I think if you're looking for the best coach, you go Brian Johnson as your one option, and then Aaron Anthony Lynn, excuse me, is your second best option behind him. So I'm big on Anthony Lynn if the Jets kind of want to go this more experienced route. He's not particularly the most innovative mind available for the offensive coordinator job, but neither is Brian Johnson. And it's great to prioritize young innovation, but at the same time, I think there's something to be said for someone who has actually completed this task before. Tanner Engstrand could be a great offensive coordinator, but we just don't know. We just don't know what he is. And I'm going to be honest, Lynn had one stint as an offensive coordinator. Matter of fact, he actually overlapped with Aaron Glenn the one season in Detroit in 2021. So take back what I said there. My bad. Yeah, that just came into my head. They didn't have a ton of success that season, but that roster was pretty much skin and bones. That they had no talent on that roster overall. So if you want to grade them on that season, I think they finished 29th in offensive DVOA. You want to grade them on that, okay, but let's look at his head coaching record. He's over 500, brought a team to the playoffs, worked with Justin Herbert, who won Offensive Rookie of the Year that season. I think there's a lot to like in a guy like Glenn, but I can understand why people would not particularly be interested in him, and they would prefer a Nick Caley or a Tanner Engstrand. So Anthony Lynn is a name that I was thinking of. We spoke about Mark Brunell. Pete Carmichael's interesting. He's an offensive assistant right now in Denver, so he's obviously connected to Darren Muji alongside Aaron Glenn. They overlapped in New Orleans. Carmichael, I think, was the Saints offensive coordinator for 15 seasons. Obviously under an offensive-minded head coach. Ton of experience, worked with Drew Brees. Top option if they want to go experience route, particularly not my favorite candidate. However, I would not mind Carmichael. Another name here, Deuce Staley, the Browns running backs coach. He was in Detroit with Aaron Glenn for a little while, has experience as an assistant head coach. I could see Glenn potentially going after trying to bring in a Deuce Staley, someone who has maybe give him that offensive coordinator assistant head coach title. Maybe you do something like that, or he comes on the staff as, maybe he officially gets the assistant head coach role here and then takes the running backs coach job, which would be somewhat of a promotion compared to where he is right now in Cleveland as just a running backs coach. So I think Deuce Staley is kind of a sneaky under the radar name to watch here as we look at these names here. Another final candidate before I get into your questions for the offensive coordinator job, Joe Lombardi in Denver right now. Strong ties to Peyton, so he's connected to Muji as well, alongside Glenn. All of Glenn's seasons in New Orleans as a coach there, he overlapped with Joe Lombardi. Lombardi's fine. He hasn't been an offensive coordinator before. He was, been a quarterbacks coach for a long time in this league, and then obviously an offensive assistant. Now he has experience as a coordinator, but it was limited, only 2 seasons as a coordinator in this league. Again, among those names, Brian Johnson's my favorite. I think Brian Johnson is the best offensive coordinator candidate the Jets could find. I really do. What he showed as a coordinator in this league, among all the names you could potentially think of, he is the clear-cut number 1 option for me, at least. So that's where I am in terms of the coordinator search. Appreciate you tuning in. Smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Throw your questions in. We'll stay on a little longer. Answer your questions. Take your calls. We'll be sure to get to all of those. So like I said, just keep them coming. Where are we? Caden comes in. He says, I hope we get Steve Wilks at DC, and the guy from Detroit is OC. So I think Wilks will be the DC, and I'm assuming you're talking about Tanner Engstrand, not Mark Brunell. So you're a Tanner Engstrand guy. Interesting. Guy Allen coming in. Allen, appreciate your support on the show. From Tanner Boyle to Tanner Engstrand. This would be a very good hire. Allen, I spoke to you about Tanner Engstrand, I'd say about 2 or 3 months ago. So we were early on the Tanner Engstrand train, and now it's starting to pick up some steam, if you will. Rod in the house. Rod, appreciate you tuning in. Wild Wave says Cohen did some bozo stuff. Yep. I'm happy Aaron Glenn didn't do like some corny JTS chant. If it was, it would have been funny if he did a JTS chant, but a real one. My concern was him going out there and making like a fool of himself, like Liam Cohen did. Like what Liam Cohen did was Adam Gase 2.0 in that introductory press conference. Caden says, just need to draft Will Howard / Kyle McCord. Only quarterbacks I like in the draft and an honorable mention, Dart. Howard, if he's there in the fourth round. I'm not taking Will Howard in the third round. Kyle McCord, I think, who will be there in the fourth round, is one of their best options for a day three quarterback. Dylan Gabriel, his size is obviously a massive concern. Right now, I think he'll probably be a fifth or sixth round pick if the Jets want to wait that late. Give me Dylan Gabriel from Oregon. Again, the size being 5'10" as a quarterback is quite concerning in this league. Yeah, good point here by Caden. By the way, pass game coordinator was Mugi's offensive coordinator in college, so I bet it's going to be him. They were actually teammates, so yes, they're actually directly connected. So both Muji and Glenn are connected to Engstrand, which is important to note. Yeah, him and Muji overlapped at University of San Diego during their college days together. So Tanner Engstrand is certainly a name to watch. You're in the house. Good to see you, my man. Appreciate you tuning in. Connor, what do you think about Slowick? He's super, super interesting. The second he got fired, I brought him up just because he interviewed for the head coaching job just a few weeks ago. He was viewed as a potential head coach candidate here. He was obviously the hot name last cycle. I think he's 37 now. I think he was 36 last year when he was being interviewed after CJ Stroud had that monster rookie season. Their offense was a top 5 unit overall. I think he got 5 head coaching interviews last cycle. So he was viewed as a hot name. And then he goes into this year. CJ Stroud, his play regressed. The offense was a bottom 10 unit basically in almost every single metric. I say average is being generous based on their production overall in the regular season here. So Slowick, based on the significant regression from 2023 to 2024, scares me. So I'm going to say no. But great question here. I'm going to say no on Slowick. All those names I listed on that list, to put in perspective, I would take every single one of those guys over Bobby Slowick. That's to put in perspective where I stand on Slowick compared to other candidates here. Caden says if we get Johnson, then expect Milroe. That's a really good point. I said expect Justin Fields in free agency, just because Fields, I think, has a similar skill set to that Jaden, the similar intangibles, the similar athletic traits to Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. I can understand Milroe, though, similar to Justin Fields with that, you're taking a big swing, high upside, low floor. I can see that. Yours says I'm good on both Anthony Lynn and Brian Johnson. Why? He says neither one are good. You say Lynn here. You say Lynn has failed multiple stints as an OC. He's had one stint as an OC, and as OC running backs coach, etc. What about Brian Johnson? I understand why people might not be all in favor of Anthony Lynn, but Brian Johnson, there's not much particularly to dislike in him from what we've seen recently. So why not Brian Johnson here? Rod says who will be our linebackers coach and running backs coach. Hugh Jackson's a sneaky name to watch for running backs coach. He was the former head coach of the Cleveland Browns. They want to add head coach experience. Obviously, that stint was horrendous, but they want to add someone with experience, maybe him. Linebackers coach. I am not too sure. I haven't gotten that deep yet, Rod. I'll be honest. I've just been focused on filling these vacant coordinator roles. Mazel tov in the house. Connor, I appreciate you, brother JT. Yes, sir. Appreciate you tuning in. Explosive Diarrhea says, I feel bad for him, though. I'm kind of rooting for him. Appreciate you tuning in. I don't know who you're talking about. Clarify here, please. Appreciate you tuning in, though. Caden, people are underrating Muji as GM, former football player in college, just saying a lot of connections. He was a fast riser. I mean, let's be real. Going from a scouting intern in 2012 to becoming an assistant GM in 2021 is a pretty impressive rise. And then becoming a general manager in 2025, that's really, really impressive. Has a ton of connections, skilled in relationship building, background in pro and college scouting. I think a lot of people, Caden, weren't fully on board with it just because he wasn't one of those names that we were talking about. And I'm going to be honest, that's where I was. He was not one of those names we were talking about as the search got kicked off. It was a lot of John Dorsey. It was a lot of Ray Agnew. It was a lot of, who's another name that was Thomas Dimitroff. Another one. All three of those guys. Well, Ray Agnew and John Dorsey didn't even get interviews. Thomas Dimitroff didn't get a second interview. So he was certainly Muji was not someone who was on my radar. Our guy Jimmy Jets in the house is in first place for our membership raffle. Jimmy says, Connor, Jimmy. Good to see you in the chat. Appreciate you tuning in. Our guy King Jamie the Mad checking back in. King Jamie, appreciate you tuning in. We'll jump to the bottom here. Our guy 3D Boxing Gary comes in. He says Thomas Brown as OC. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull my other tab up here. I lost it for a second. You say Thomas Brown is OC. Well, Gary, I have some unfortunate news for you regarding Thomas Brown. I know you're a big Thomas Brown guy, but unfortunately, Thomas Brown has been hired as the New England Patriots offensive coordinator. So the Thomas Brown train is done. At the time, I was a huge fan. Caleb's play significantly increased. Let's be real. He's someone who came in as an interim offensive coordinator. Then just a few weeks after they fired Shane Waldron, and then just a few weeks later became their interim head coach. So he was really liked on that staff in Chicago. He was one of my top offensive coordinator names, but unfortunately, he is now with New England, our division rivals. Not happy about that, Gary. I'm going to be honest with you. Kate and Josina Anderson also reported us to get Lions pass game coordinator in Wilkes' DC. She told us about Glenn a day before we ended up with him. She also said Muji right before we landed him. So she's been pretty accurate. She's been pretty accurate for sure. If I had to make a prediction, I think it's Steve Wilkes, defensive coordinator, and I could see Engstrand getting the OC job. Jimmy says, guess who just made the list as a first-round pick? Who is that, Jimmy? Let me know in the chat. Our guy Mike T, a member of our Discord, if you want to join the Discord. Exclusive Jet conversations, channel updates, offer content, content, suggestions. Join it down below. Super fun stuff. Certainly recommend you checking that out. Hi, Connor. I'm curious why Josh McCown is on the OC candidates list. Does he have a background for the MMAF role? Josh McCown, I don't know what you mean. Clarify there by MMAF. What you say by MMAF there. So McCown's actually, I don't think, is going to get the OC job. It was reported earlier, I'd say a few weeks ago that what's his name? A few weeks ago that he's not leaving Minnesota unless for a head coaching job, excuse me. Yeah, he actually interviewed for the Jets head coaching job, but Jordan Schultz listed him as an OC candidate. I would be really surprised if he took an OC job though after what we heard from Schefter. So that's where I am. I would love if he's willing to take an OC job, jumps probably right to the top of my list, right near Brian Johnson. But as of now, unfortunately, I don't think he's interested in taking an OC job. Our guy Chef Kevin says, how much for a raffle ticket? Chef Kevin, one membership. Every membership you give gets you a raffle ticket, and a membership's $2.99. So every $2.99 super chat or every membership will get you a raffle ticket. Appreciate you tuning in, my guy. Caden says trade back and get Tyler Warren. I'm not too big on. My question to you then is who's available when the Jets are picking Tyler Warren, and how far back are they trading? How far back are you trading? That's my question. Like, if you're going to trade back to 12, I think Malachi Starks might still be there. Give me him. So it depends how far back you're trading. You know, Brock Bowers had success his rookie season for sure. My concern is that tight ends you draft in the first round tend to not particularly have success right away. Like, you look at a lot of the tight ends, taking a tight end bottom line in the first round is pretty risky. It's a risky move. Let's be real here. So, do they want to take that risk when it's certainly a position of need, rather than waiting till the second round where you could take or third round perhaps where you could take like a Harold Fannin Jr. Like, there's some there's some solid tight ends who are going to be available in one of the later rounds. So Tyler Warren in the first round, I think, could be viewed as a bit of a stretch here. A bit of a stretch. But wow, before we go any further, with this show, our guy DB94 gives 10 channel memberships. He might be a Bronco, but he certainly will get a Jets chat. Jets, DB, an absolute legend coming in here. Louis Ray, our guy Richie from Jets Media, bada bing, Steven NYC, you're the assassin, the underrated darkness, CMNYJ28, Plant for Us, and Danette Randall. You are all members. Thanks to our guy DB94. And he says, let's get this comment from him. He says, I want that third place spot back. Well, DB, you want it? Well, actually, we normally do it after the show, but we'll do it now. So we're gonna where are we? 3, that is 10 more memberships. That's 35 for you on the month. And then our guy Rick Kent, who's an absolute legend as well, goes to 4th place with 30 on the month. Appreciate you big time, my guy Jimmy Jets. Not Jimmy Jets, our guy DB94, but Jimmy, you're an absolute legend too. First place in our raffle, so I appreciate you as well. And wow, the memberships, the super chats, they don't stop there. Our guy Chef Kevin Gilbert comes in with a $10 super chat. He gets a Jets chant as well. Jets, Connor, my guy, appreciate your ongoing content. Keep it up and never change. Let's go Jets, Chef Kevin. Really appreciate that. You get in our raffle now, so I'll update the ticker at the end of the show like I normally do. Get you on that list for sure. So Chef Kevin, appreciate you. You're now in our January raffle as time is starting to run out to win the Garrett Wilson signed mini helmet, Wanker Bet signed football, the free item from the merch store, and a channel emoji. So Chef Kevin, appreciate you, and I appreciate you getting in here on the raffle. So your support means a ton to me here on the show and everyone else. Keep the questions coming in. We'll stay on for a little longer. If you want to call into the show, click the pinned comment in the chat. Your support is much appreciated on the show. David D, our Lions fan. We got all the outer fans here, the fans of the NFL, or football fans, non-Jet fans, who are all absolute legends tuning in on the program. Hi, Connor. I would be surprised if Aaron Glenn chose Anthony Lynn. In the 2021 season, Lynn was the play caller for the Lions in the first 8 games. Dan Campbell removed the play calling from. Yeah, here's the thing. That roster at the time, though, still was not great. Like, that roster, when we look back and think about it, was was skin and bones. So certainly that's a bit of a concern that play calling duties were revoked after 8 games. He was just the name I tossed out there because he's overlapped with Glenn before, and he has that head coaching experience, which I think is going to be important as Glenn assembles this staff here. So he was just the name I tossed around. I wouldn't mind him. I just don't. I don't think he would be viewed as a favorite for sure. I understand where you're coming from here. Caden does not want Fields. Why is that, Caden? Elaborate here in the chat. I didn't see this, Jimmy. I saw he had Tyler Warren going to the Jets, but I did not see Daniel Jeremiah had Will Howard being selected in the first round here. Wow. Very, very interesting. King Jamie the Mad comes in. It amazes me how even when they suck, the Patriots always seem to hose you guys. Like how we wanted Vrabel at the Jets, so they took him, and now this. They got to be doing it because you want it. Hey, maybe that's why. King Jamie, who knows? Patriots are going to Patriot. I don't even know. Of course. The reports came out shortly after, Vrabel used the Jets. I don't think that was the case, but come on. Mike Vrabel would have been a great, great, great head coach for this team. So, yeah. Unfortunate that Vrabel cannot be in green and white anymore. Caden says Fields is inaccurate and holds on to the ball for too long. I can understand that concern. This isn't ironic that the guy that criticized us the most, Sean Payton, is also the guy that is helping us out as well. Good point here. Good point. I appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. 30 of you in the building. Here on YouTube, 23 likes. 7 of you are not liked. Completely free. Hated it. Helps us grow significantly. Hit subscribe. Again, helps us grow significantly. 2,000 subscribers by the draft. 3,000 by the start of the 2025 season. That is our goal. Let's get an exact subscriber count here. We're at 1,000. We're at 1,452 subscribers. Come on, let's get that up. You can do it. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate your support on the show. So please do that. Helps us grow significantly. Last chance to get in on the conversation by calling in. Last chance to get your memberships in. Last chance to get your comments in as well. So we're gonna wrap things up here shortly on this Tuesday evening. I just thought I'd pop on, talk about the latest coordinator news. I have off from school tomorrow, kind of like a last minute impromptu show. So I know other content creators are on, so I appreciate you guys, the real ones who are sticking with us here on the show. We should be back tomorrow for about like a probably a daytime show. Maybe about 2. If it's not daytime, I'll be on tomorrow. I can guarantee you that. It's either gonna be at like 2 p.m. It's either gonna be around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or it's gonna be around like 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So join our Discord down below. Really appreciate it. Completely free, exclusive Jets content, exclusive updates, content suggestions that you guys can provide. Get notified every single time before we go live. Super fun stuff. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. We appreciate you guys all tuning in here on the show. And then check out our merch store, some really cool NY Flight Jets Talk merch that I would really appreciate if you guys checked it out. Chef Kevin, thanks so much for the super chat. DB94, you're a goat. Thanks so much for the 10 gifted memberships. Like I said, appreciate you all sticking with us. That'll do it for me. I am your host, Connor Long, signing things off this Tuesday evening, January 28th, 2025. As always, JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.